So welcome, Rik from OvenU Franchising Limited. We're following on from Marianne Smith's session about the recruitment journey, and I want to pick up on a few things that Marianne's raised that we can then maybe talk about and ask some questions on later on. But the first thing I want to talk about is this attraction piece, really. So when you're looking to attract potential franchisees for you, and certainly initially, how do you want them to feel about OvenU? What's the feeling you want to give them and they want to get from OvenU at the start of the journey?
Okay, first of all, thanks, Marianne. That was very, very informative. Thanks very much. Hello, Nick. Hello, Julie, Mash, everybody at the franchise company and all the guests. What are we looking for? We want them to feel, just one word, we want them to feel confident. As a subheading, we want them to feel comfortable. Confident, comfortable. On the confidence side, we want them to be confident that we can achieve the two main things that we want them to be very confident and comfortable about, one of which is cleaning ovens. I mean, that's kind of a given because that's what we do, but we need to make sure that they would be comfortable with that side of the business, but possibly more so, and I think it's probably a 51-49 split in favor. We want to make sure that they've got some confidence and they are comfortable in running a business, because that's what you guys are ostensibly looking for. You're looking to award a lease to a franchisee for a number of years to represent your brand and your business.
I love that, comfortable and confidence. I think it's about, and I like the fact that it's weighted in favor of the confidence to be successful rather than the confidence to technically clean the ovens, or only slightly. You can teach people some of the skills, the technical skills of your franchise and other people's franchises, and you can teach people business acumen, but they've got to have some of that intrinsically in them, I guess, to get over the line in the first place. So that's very clear then, two things, comfortable and confident. So when we talk about impress to attract, what do you do to attract people and impress them? Then what would I experience then, Rik, if I am a browser, I'm sat at home and I'm thinking I need a life-changing kind of opportunity. What am I going to see that's going to attract and impress me to OvenU?
You're going to see that we're bloody damn good at what we do. You're going to see that we've got a lot of franchisees. You're going to see that a lot of those franchisees have been with us for a huge amount of time. They've renewed their agreements time and time and time again, because we really are very, very good at what we do. Secondary to that, and again, to make them feel comfortable and confident, we're going to prove it. We are going to show them statistics. We're going to show them how many telephone calls we get a month. But we're not just going to plonk it onto a website. When they're coming along, and as Marianne highlighted, when they're coming along to a taster day or a guest day, call it what you will, we can show them exactly what's going on. We can show them how many emails we get. We can show them how many phone calls we achieve. We can prove that we're good. We can show them the retention rate of the franchisees, why they want to renew their agreements with us. And it's all about kind of blowing your own trumpet. But again, just two words that you have to be able to do in conjunction: prove it.
I'll pick up on that. I think it's really important, Rik, that we look and say transparency is really important, because it's not smoke and mirrors. It's not about, making false claims. That starts the journey on a trusted footing, and the trust and the like and the integrity that Marianne talked about will come shining through when you're demonstrating not just words but actions, and an open day where they can see how busy the phones are and the emails are coming in. That's a great way of demonstrating, impressing somebody and then attracting them further down the journey. I want to talk stats with you, if I can, Rik. In your experience, what percentage of those people making a first inquiry as inverted commas interested in potentially being a franchisee have the it factor? You know, what's the it factor in terms of percentage wise of people that you see initially then, Rik?
People we see or people that we hear from?
Well, let's go over people that you hear from is going to be a bigger number. So people that, yeah. So the first one, how many people that you hear from, and then what's the number when you actually get to meet them? Okay,
people that we meet that go on to be investors is probably 95%.
Mm-hmm.
The flip of that would be reflective of how many people have genuinely got what it takes to fit what we would class as being a square peg to go into a square hole.
Right.
Probably around about 5%, if that. But that is very much dependent on which horse was running on which course that led you to get the inquiry in the first place.
Right.
Typically, you'll find that internet generated leads through some of the directory sites, absolutely appalling standard. So, but nothing much has changed over the years. And this is a great tip for everybody. I alluded to this a couple of weeks ago when we were talking before. Don't try and find necessarily your 100% perfect franchisee. What you will class as 100% perfect franchisee is that damn good. They're going to set up on their own. They're not going to be a franchisee. They're that great. So if you can get to 9 out of 10, then you've done really, really well of your avatar.
Excellent. I was going to ask you a follow-up question, but I suspect it on the basis of how brutally you in culling those that don't have the it factor early on. But if you're getting down from 100% down to 5%, you're pretty good at culling the time wasters out and the ones that are not particularly relevant to your organization quite quickly. I'm going to finish with a question. You've been in the franchise sector for a long time. You must have tried a myriad of options for recruitment, some better than others, I would imagine. What's currently working for you? And what do you plan to do going forward? What do you plan to do more of?
Well, this is going to sound really, really weird, but it's absolutely true. Everything that we do works. We get inquiries from every single source, without exception. This is all about managing expectations. When it comes to newer franchisors, they really need help managing their expectations, because if there are false dawns given, they're not going to be franchisors for very long at all. Web-based stuff can be appalling quality, but on 1 or 2 selected sites, it can be quite good. It's unfortunate that we've lost a little bit, if not nearly all of the printed media, because you could tell some very good backstories that Marianne alluded to earlier on. They were fantastic vehicles. At the moment, we still do quite a lot of stuff online. We don't necessarily push ourselves too much on the third-party directory sites at the moment, because they're getting absolutely smashed in the search engine results. We spend a lot of time working on our own website, which is a very, very useful piece of equipment. We've invested lots of money all over the place. What are we going to do in the future? God knows what the future's going to bring at the moment. Let's face it, none of us really know what next week's going to bring, and particularly with things like the Indian variant, it does make planning rather awkward. That said, we're getting plenty of inquiries coming through. We always will. But it is a case of managing expectations and understanding that franchise recruitment and finding those elusive investors, it's a process. It's not an event. It's a process. It takes a long, long time. You're going to have to be prepared to invest a massive amount of time in what you do, and ultimately a lot of money. This is not something that you can do on the cheap.
I'm going to pick up on that word investment. You've used it quite a few times, and I think you're a very mature business, and you've obviously got that opportunity to learn from what you've done and what works, and you get inquiries from every platform that you use. As a starting franchise, I think what people might need to look at is maybe learning from others and taking it steady, because they won't have that necessarily that collateral behind them, that investment behind them. But the reality is there's lots of routes to find your ideal franchisee. And the last thing I want to just summarize with is, I love the idea of finding someone who's a 9 out of 10, because a 10 out of 10 will probably end up turning out to be competition at some stage in the future. So Rik, thank you very much for putting a bit of a practical spin from a real world example onto a case study for the recruitment journey. That's really supported where Marianne was coming from. So on that basis, we'll finish that session with you, Rik, and thank you again for your time.
You're very welcome.